Welcome to this week's webinar for the Texas Engineering and Technology Network. And again, as usual, we'll be spending about 15 minutes covering a subject, and then there'll be 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. And as always, we'll be posting a copy of the recording into the TETN group, so you can refer back to it or find it on our YouTube channel. This week, we're going to continue from the presentation we gave last week, which was on the 3 systems you must implement to be successful with your business growth. This year, we're going to go into a bit more detail on the first of those systems, the 7 phases of the entrepreneur's journey. And this will be the lead-in to a deep dive where for the next 7 weeks, we'll go into each of these elements in more detail, which will then lead us into the rest of the series. So this is really an overview of the 7 phases of the entrepreneur's journey, and we'll be going into more detail every week as we go through this process. So without any further ado, we spoke last week about the 3 systems, the seven phases of the entrepreneur's journey, the high profit business exit strategy, and building a predictable growth engine. And as I said, we're going to do a deep dive on each of these 3 areas over the coming weeks. This week, we're starting with the 7 stages of the entrepreneur's journey. So many small businesses were started by accident, by people who had an idea, they grew into a business, they maybe picked a business up. But often we go into business without having a clear long-term strategy, a clear long-term plan. And we get so far, we muddle through, and then typically all businesses come to a stall point. And that's where the business owner has to make some critical decisions to either save the business, break out and continue to grow, or go into a death spiral and eventually lose the business. And regrettably, the majority of business exits are business closure. The reality is only about 5% of businesses that get put up for sale, the deal ever closes. And so entrepreneurs that have put a lot of effort and money and time and heart and sweat into growing their business end up by shutting down their business, which is a tragedy because there's a lot of value that then gets lost and is not realized. So through the 7 stages of entrepreneurship, you know what to look for, and more importantly, you know the warning signs, and then you know what you need to do to achieve the breakout, so that your business is one of those that gets prepared for sale and doesn't end up with an exit through closure. So there are 7 steps to this process. First one is prototyping. The second one is implementing the growth engine. Then we systematize the business. Then we pay up, and I'll explain that in some more detail shortly. Implement an advisory board. Go for M&A growth in several different areas, and eventually set yourself up for the high profit exit. So let's cover these 7 stages in a bit more detail. So you maybe remember this from the last presentation we did. This is the typical life cycle of an entrepreneur's business. And hopefully we're all past the traction stage. We're in the momentum expansion and very possibly the flatline stage. So this is where things go, and we'll see how this grows out. So let's look at how this maps to our 7 phases of the journey. The first one, at the traction phase, we're looking at prototyping. And what we are doing here is checking whether we really have a business. Now, for the majority of people who are listening to this webinar, we're already past that stage. But if you're a startup, if you are looking at bringing a new business or a new product to market, you need to go through the prototyping stage before you make any dramatic commitments, which could end up putting you in a liability that you can't fulfill. Then we implement the predictable growth engine. We've spoken about this in other webinars, and we'll do a deep dive on this later on. But this is where you systematize how you get clients into your business and how you create the revenue to take you through the momentum and then into the expansion phase. Once you've got your predictable growth engine up and running, we then need to systematize the business. And many businesses hit the flat line, not because they can't get the customers, but because their internal processes cannot keep up with the demand. And so the drag on the business just means they can't supply the products or the services that the market's demanding from them, and they flatline. And that's very frustrating for both the owner and the team, because they know they can do more, they want to do more, the market's requesting more of them, and yet their business processes just don't allow them to expand the way they could do. At this point, the business owner needs to make a decision. He needs to go through the pay-up process, and that is both a psychological decision and also an operational pressure point that he can apply to the business to avoid or avert going into the legacy zombie death spiral, and actually coming up with the way to break out of the flat line and then take his business up to the future. And one of the things he needs to do here is to implement an advisory board. There's several ways you can do this, and we'll talk about this later in the presentation. Then you are ready for the breakout, at which point one of the best ways to do this to bring in rapid revenue is the M&A expansion. And then finally, get ready for the high profit exit program, which is where you really maximize the value of the business so that you can leave on a high and leave your business to continue delivering value and products and services that the market's demanding long after you've taken your well-earned reward. So those are the 7 phases. So now let's look in a bit more detail. So prototyping. You may already be past this stage, but if you're not, if you're just starting a new business, or if you're pivoting into a new product line, before you take on any massive commitment or liabilities, sell 10 products or sell 10 units or sell 10 services. And if you cannot sell 10 versions of your core product or service, you don't have a business. You may need to realign to your product market mix. You may need to look at your go-to-market messaging. You may look at your pricing. But if you cannot sell 10 of your base product, there's a problem. And until you can resolve that, you don't want to be taking on significant commitments and liability, which will be a drag until you get your basic product to market mix sorted out. So prototype, fail fast. If you fail, revise, improve, reinvent, and then try again. But keep the prototyping going until you're comfortable that you are able to sell 10 units of your core product. Once we've got that, and once, okay, we have it with the market's telling us we have something they want, now implement a growth engine. And this is based on 3 things. And as I say, in the future, we're going to do a deep dive on this. But today we're looking at 3 elements to your growth engine. A strategy, and this is what we call the customer value journey. It's the documented process by which you know how a customer is attracted into your business. They're converted from a lead to a client. You then maximize the value that you can provide for that customer, and then eventually they help you grow your business through advocacy and promotion. So that strategy, those 8 steps of that customer value journey needs to be identified, needs to be detailed and implemented and tested and refined to give you this growth engine. In order to do the refinement, you need actionable metrics. There's an old saying, you can only manage what you measure. And one of the things I always recommend to my clients is use the 4DS, the 4 disciplines of execution. It comes from the Covey Foundation, and it's all about measuring lead measures so that you can be reactive to the situation rather than lag measures where you are reactive when it's too late. You're driving and using the rear view mirror. So again, lead measures, you are proactive. Lag measures, you are reactive. And lag measures mean that you're always working 1 measurement cycle, 2 measurement cycles in arrears, so you are very, very slow to react if there's information coming from the marketplace. And finally, use proven tools and tactics. Don't reinvent the wheel every time. Success leaves footprints. There are proven systems, proven ways of doing business. You can use them. You just need to know where to look, where to go to find them, and then implement them in your business. Once you have your growth engine established, you can then set your goal for the next 3 years. Are you going to 2x your revenue? Are you going to 4x? Are you going to try and 6x? Whatever it is, you need to set yourself a goal for increasing revenue, because revenue is the lifeblood of your business. And when the revenue comes in, it gives you more opportunity to continue to grow and develop. We then systematize. As I said in the introduction, one of the common reasons why a business flatlines is because their internal systems cannot keep up with the growth of the company. Many small businesses start with what we call tribal management, up to about 25 people. You can do it through tribal knowledge. Above 25 people, you really need to be behaving like a corporation. So you need systems, you need procedures, you need processes, you need organization. And then, this is where you fire yourself from being the center of the tribe and the whole business revolves around you. And you fire yourself to start working over the business, so you can now approach it from a strategic asset perspective to get ready for your exit. And you also mean that you systematize everything so people know where they're at, they know what they're doing, and then you don't have to rely on tribal knowledge, and you reduce the risk that if someone leaves or dies or goes to a competitor, a whole swath of corporate knowledge and corporate history and corporate expertise walks out the door with them. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. Use proven systems, implement them quickly, adapt to the systems, and then once you've done this, once you have a predictable growth engine and you have systematized your business processes, you are now a scalable business and you can get ready for the growth that is needed to prepare for that exit sprint. Pay up. This is where we recommend as the founder that you deliberately go through a process of releasing profit in the business, finding the profit, finding where there are inefficiencies, finding money so that you can double your salary. And there's two reasons to do this. Firstly, scared money is not attractive. So if you're in the startup phase or if you've been bouncing along, not quite getting traction, when people can sense that you're frightened because you don't have enough money coming in, that's not an attractive position, and that will repel people who want to do business with you. Once you've doubled your salary, you can feel confident. You can feel like you are deserving of, as the business owner, as the CEO, as the founder. And then you can go ahead with a much fresher attitude to start the plan for your high value exit. And if you can, do it again. Use the profit maximizer protocol, find these hidden golden nuggets in the business, bring the profit in, double your salary, and then you are in a good position because now you're bringing out the golden nuggets, you're giving yourself confidence, and you can move forward to prepare for that last hurdle. You're going to have to make some big decisions to get from where you are, to get the breakout, and then get to the point of the high value exit. So this is where you need an advisory board. And again, there's an old adage: to go fast, go alone. To go far, go together. And this is where you need to bring in the advisory board. And there are several decision-making models. The autocratic model, it may have been how the business started. If you were a solopreneur, if you had a small team, you made the decisions, people did what you told them. That's great. That's a quick decision-making, but it's not necessarily the most highest quality decision. The democratic decision-making process is not ideal for business because the will of the majority is seldom the right decision in a business perspective. And a committee decision is certainly never the right way to do business because it's always a compromise. So you need the balance between making the fast decision and making a quality decision. And this is where we recommend a consultative decision-making process is the way to go. But still, the decision authority rests with either the C team or the executive, or the person to whom you have delegated that decision-making authority. It doesn't have to be the business owner. But consultative decision-making is without doubt the best option. And again, if you want a shortcut to this, to get your advisory, join a business owners mastermind group, get the combined experience of a dozen other business owners who've already gone through the struggles, they're going through the struggles, they've experienced this, and they can help you very quickly make those tough decisions in a consultative manner. Then we're getting ready for that final sprint, the business exit. This is where we look at M&A growth. One of the first areas is to maximize the profit. So we do what's called the E to P protocol. Look at your expense items and see how you can bring them in-house to make them profit centers. Once you've done that 3 or 4 times, you can see a lot more profit coming onto your balance sheet. Then you can see gaps in your business process. You can see gaps in your product offering. This is where you can start to buy those gaps so you can offer a much more holistic, a much more rounded solution to the marketplace, which again allows you to increase the value, increase the price, and increase the profitability ready for that final business valuation. And if necessary, you can buy market share. And if you've gone through the process of systematizing and bringing in your predictable growth engine, and you've gone through all the pain of optimizing your business, your value will now be much higher than a similar business who's still working at the tribal level. So simply by buying that business out, buying their customer base immediately would give you an uptick in your profitability if you bring that customer base in and then sell them your products and services. And then step 7 is the business exit. Again, there are 7 steps to this. Some of them you will have already have seen through the entrepreneur's journey. But the first thing is come up with an exit strategy. Maximize the revenue. Again, we go back to reinvigorating your predictable growth engine. Maximize the profit. We talked about that at the pay-up phase. Improve your customer experience. Validate the business model. Identify if you need to restructure the business to get it ready to sell. And again, look for that M&A expansion to maximize your value and attractiveness before you then go through the process of selling the business. And one of the things we do is we have a three-year roadmap that we like to share with our clients. And this is how we would do this. So the assessment phase, the activation phase, make your business or bring your business to a scalable point, and then go through that advisory phase where you're working over the business to prepare it for that final sales sprint. So these are the 7 key steps of the entrepreneurial journey. And what we'll do is we'll be going through each of these 7 phases in more detail in the upcoming weeks. So if you have any questions, by all means, please connect with me on LinkedIn. More than happy to connect with an answer. And if you are a business owner of an engineering and technology company based in Texas, please look for us on LinkedIn. It's the Texas Engineering and Technology Network. The LinkedIn address is at the bottom there. And we'd love to see you. We'd love to welcome you into our community and help you 2x or 3x the value of your business by going through some of these protocols that we're sharing with other business owners in this group. So thank you for your time. I'm Dave Walters, and I am running the Texas Engineering and Technology Network, and our mission and purpose is to help engineering and technology businesses in Texas 2x or 3x their revenue in the next 2 to 5 years. Thanks for your time.